All right, so that's the disability, and you've got to be careful on that. Now, there are exemptions to the fair housing. Just like the government, we're going to make rules, but then we're going to exempt some things, okay? There is an exemption for just about every one of the protected classes, except which one? Race. Never an exemption to race. There are exemptions to other classes. Let me give you an example. I own several rental properties that are single-family homes. I have a guy come to me in a wheelchair. Got the job, got the credit, got the money, but I literally tell him, sorry, I can't rent to you because you're in a wheelchair. Is that legal?
Is it because you don't have the access, like the house isn't set up to where
Exactly.
wheelchair accessible?
Exactly. Economic burden is an exception. So I can't afford to lower the doorknobs. I can't afford to put grab bars. I can't afford to build a ramp up to the front door. I have the ability to say, I'm sorry, I would like to have you in here, but because of your handicap, I can't rent to you. Now, if he removes that burden by saying, I will cover that, then I no longer can say that. My exemption or my burden was economic. If he's removed the economic burden by saying, hey, I'll build the ramp, I'll put my own grab bars in, is that okay? Then yes. Now I cannot say that. But that is an exemption for the handicap. There's an economic burden to that.
Is he responsible for putting it back in the lease?
Can I charge him more deposit? The answer is yes. Because there is now more to put back. All right? So yes. Theoretically, if he does what he's supposed to do, which all tenants are supposed to do, is restore the house in the original condition that they received it in, they get their deposit back. Same thing here.
That would be the case with the care animals too, right?
Theoretically. There are some other exemptions. Owner-occupied buildings with no more than 4 units. Owner-occupied buildings with no more than 4 units. So if someone lives in a 4-unit apartment and they live in one of them and rent the other 3 out, they may be exempt from fair housing. Okay? Single-family homes sold or rented without the use of a real estate professional. Without the use of a real estate professional. The second we become involved in a sale or a rental, we are supposed to educate our person and say, you can't do that. And I refer back to the Apple story. I cannot be involved in that sale because I am supposed to tell him, hey, that violates federal housing laws. You can't say that. And if you continue to say that, I've got to disassociate with you because I don't want to get in trouble for something you're doing stupid. But if it's a for sale by owner, they could potentially get away with it. All right? Because there's no agent used. I love this one. Housing's operated by organizations and private clubs that limit the occupancy to members. Clear as mud. Got it? What this is saying is, you guys know the Fraternal Order of Eagles? You ever heard of the FOE? It's a social organization you can join. They can own a house and refuse to sell it to anybody but another FOE member, as long as joining that club is not discriminatory in nature. They could simply say, yes, go join the Eagles and I'll sell it to you. That's okay. Because joining the Eagles is not discriminatory. Another example would be like the Masons. You ever heard of the Masons? It's discriminatory in nature. It's a males club. So they could not get away with that because they can't say, hey, Maggie, go join the Masons, because you can't. They don't allow females. That's not allowed because joining that club is discriminatory in nature. We don't allow, well, not we, because I'm not a member. they don't allow females.
Unless the Eagles have changed, they're discriminatory as well.
Anybody can join the Eagles.
Yeah? It wasn't like that a long time ago.
That should be former military or have.
That's VFW. The Eagles, as far as I know, is just a social club. Okay, how about the Hells Angels? That's a social club, isn't it? Are they discriminatory? I don't know. Got to have a criminal record to join. Or you play for the Oakland Raiders, one of the two. As soon as you get arrested, you go to Oakland. You get drafted by Oakland. Yeah, I'm going to catch heck for that one. Rental rooms and units occupied by no more than 4 units are exempt. If the home is owned by an individual who does not own more than 3 such homes at the same time. Who would own more than 3 houses at the same time? An investor, that's the word I'm looking for. Call a landlord. If they're making a business out of this, they should know the laws. They're not exempt. Mom and pop trying to sell their house for sale by owner potentially could be exempt. I've got 17 rentals. I'm not exempt because I know the laws. I make a living by defined as more than 3 houses. If a real estate is not involved, once again, once we get involved, and then the last one is discriminatory advertising can never be used. So let me give you a scenario that potentially could be exempt. Single family home for sale by owner, and we're going to use a Martian because they can't get mad at me. A Martian comes to the house and says, I want to buy your house. They could potentially sell. We don't sell to no Martians. There's no agent. It's a single family home, but they could never advertise in their ad, house for sale, no Martians allowed. But if they just verbally state it, they could potentially get away with it.
You can't rent it though, right? Just sell it.
The same thing with renting.
I can rent my house, but not to white people.
That's race. No exceptions for race. That's why I choose Martian, because Martians can't get mad at me yet.
That's alien race.
Yeah. I could say no Muslims, for instance. That's a religion. But I could never advertise that. You could never advertise it discriminatory. All right? You can verbally maybe get away with it. And we'll talk about here at the end of the chapter about filing a grievance, because that's when it'll come in. You could still have someone go to the HUD and file a discrimination case if they said it, but you can never advertise it. There is one case in which I can say, seeking single white female Christian, and not on a dating site. This is a housing class. In what case could I do that? Roommates. Roommates are allowed. If you're sharing living quarters, then that's not deemed to be discriminatory, like college dorms, or if you're renting a room out in your house and you have shared space like the kitchen or something like that, you can specifically say, hey, I want a Christian or I want, Muslim to share this space. You are allowed to do that for roommates and room sharing. So that's another exemption. What about one of the big ones is people with criminal records? Can you discriminate with someone with a criminal record? It's not a protected class. As long as you're unilateral against it. Meaning don't change your mind down the road or something. That one pops up on...
For rentals, is there like a standard how long the criminal record needs to be gone?
For rentals, is there a standard time length that they have not been in trouble?
Right.
I don't think there's a standard. I think their company should have a standard. And by the way, if you have that standard, you better have it written down somewhere.
They do, but it just changes on.
It better not change.
It changes all the time, it seems like, but.
No. If you have a written occupancy requirement that says no evictions, must be on the job 6 months, no arrests within the last 2 years, those are the rules that you qualify your tenants by, then you're okay. But you can't say, well, for you, you look kind of shifty. One's for you, but she looks innocent, so ever been arrested? Or something like that. You better have some standards. And one of the things when I teach property management is you better have those written down somewhere so that you don't ever get called to the carpet and someone say, you discriminated on me, but you didn't use it on them. Your Honor, we've got a set of written documents that was given to that person. Here it says, 4 times the rental. You got to have, your income's got to be 4 times the rental. You got to have no evictions in the last year, no criminal convictions in the last 2 years, and 6 months on the job. Those are our requirements. That person did not fit those requirements. Okay?
That's only for rentals, though, right?
That's only for rentals, was the question. I would say yes, if you're managing a property.